you even clicking on my video if you're not finna like and subscribe? What's good, YouTube? Back with another video. I changed my mind on this debate. Hey,
Critiquing,
get into it.
hating on some of your hot takes. Today, I'm gonna.
Hold on, Ben Simmons on the 76ers, Magic Johnson without the AIDS. Yeah, I'm done reading.
Share some of mine.
I'm done reading, bro.
It is only fair, after all, that if I put others' opinions up for debate, contention, ridicule, that I do the same for myself. Because, like you, I
Johnson, LeBron James, D-Wade, Steph Curry, it's not close either.
too am just a guy who has a few takes and opinions that I wouldn't dare say out loud
is the weakest MVP
in fear of having my ball knowledge put into question. But today, I'm gonna do just that. So here are my NBA
Logan.
hot takes.
Hold on, young bug. I'm reacting to a video.
Huh?
I'm reacting to a video, young bug. Hold
Oh, my
on.
fault, my fault.
Yeah. Get that shit right. Sorry. Had to do him like that. Had to do him.
Today's video is sponsored by DraftKings. The NBA season is heating up, and that means bigger plays and even bigger send instant if you're not any given spin money. New cuts, promo, and preppers. This video, I thought about some of the opinions I've had over the years about players, teams, eras. Opinions that I know are probably subjective and completely false, but I usually try to stay as objective and non-biased as I can.
I'm just gonna say right now, Wemby is probably the next GOAT. Probably the next
Do
GOAT.
my research, refer
you know what I'm saying?
to
There's
film,
always a
gather
generation
consensus
of
when
that
necessary.
one GOAT
But in
that
this
one
video,
era.
I'm doing none of that. And
People say it's
instead,
gonna be
sharing
Luka.
with y'all 5 of my NBA hot takes.
Oh, God.
All right, so my first hot take is kind of hard to admit. I almost don't even want to say it out loud, but I'm going to. Tim Duncan has become overrated. Now, before you bring out the torches, hear me out. When Tim Duncan
I'm not gonna say too much. I'm not gonna act like you know what I'm saying?
was playing, there were maybe a few seasons throughout his 19-year career where he was considered the best player in the world. No one ever thought he was better than Shaq in his prime. Many fans at the time argued that KG had a higher peak than him, although I would disagree with this. And in the moment, for a good decade or so, you would be in the minority if you thought Tim Duncan was a better basketball player than Kobe Bryant. By the time Duncan retired, he was very underrated.
I'm saying he's ass. He wasn't ass. I mean, he was aight. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't
Most
nothing
fans
crazy
had him somewhere
though, bro.
around 15th, maybe
He wasn't
just
nothing
outside
crazy.
the top 10 greatest players of all time. But miraculously, over the past 5 years or so, Timmy has creeped from 15th to 13th to top 10 to where he probably should be, somewhere around 7, to now all the way within people's top 5, even top 3 players ever. And this isn't just a small community of Tim Duncan advocates pushing this propaganda. I'm seeing Duncan floating anywhere from top 5 to top 3.
It's because the damn TikTok highlights started floating around, bro. Literally, them TikTok highlights started floating around at Tim Duncan and some other shit, and literally blew up. I'm telling you,
for a lot
TikTok
of fans
made that
these
nigga
days.
top 5, bro.
Even
Somehow.
people claiming he may just be the greatest basketball player of all time.
Bro, yeah.
Guys, Tim Duncan was incredible. The best power forward of all time. He is not one of the 5 greatest players ever, let alone the GOAT. And I think what's probably happening here is younger, or maybe newer fans of the NBA are looking at his accolades and accomplishments and comparing them side by side to other greats and saying, wow, this guy really did a lot, and his resume is better than just about anyone ever. But if you watched Duncan's career unfold in real time, you would have felt the impact he had on the league and on the Spurs, but you would have also felt the massive role that the Spurs system and Popovich's coaching excellence played on Duncan. He was unbelievably consistent. He was a defensive juggernaut. He was a leader. But Duncan was also the beneficiary of the most competent organization in the league that prioritized team ball and continuity. From Hall of Fame teammates he played with for the majority of his career to all-time greats that played big roles in helping the Spurs win championships, Duncan was always surrounded by winning culture and winning teammates. This is by no means a knock on him. In fact, he was a big reason why the Spurs were so cohesive.
Hot take, I'm saying now, LeBron's still top 3 in the NBA.
But only in retrospect, when you look at his laundry list of accomplishments and neglect all of the details that came with it.
He's obviously the greatest of all time.
For many years, the Spurs as a team and organization were seen as this staple of excellence more than Tim Duncan was as an individual. It wasn't Duncan and the Spurs. It was just the Spurs. They were one and the same. Not this pretty good team with a fantastically great player on it. But if you just look at his resume, you wouldn't know that. You could argue Duncan had maybe a top 3 career in NBA history, but as a player, he's just not on the same tier as Jordan or LeBron or Kareem. I don't know how after he retired, he has slowly crept past Shaq and Bird and Russell and even Magic.
It's the accolades, bro. When niggas started looking at accolades because they were bringing it up during Jordan and all that, they started looking at other people's accolades.
For some people, Duncan is one of my all-time favorite players, but he is not a top 5 player in NBA history. Sure. And it's odd to see a player who was so underrated for so many years become slightly overrated today.
Okay,
now, I'd like to think of myself as sort of a board member, an executive within the organization of LeBron fans and Glazers. So this next take pains me to say, but LeBron has sabotaged many good situations throughout his time in the NBA, and his career as a whole has suffered because of it. We all know that LeBron has been held back by some bad front offices, selfish teammates, terrible roster constructions, but what doesn't get talked about enough is how he has gone out of his way to try to make good situations better and has inadvertently ended up just ruining things for himself in the process.
How?
Like in 2014, when he decided to sign with the Cavs instead of staying with the Heat. Why did he do that? Well, we all know
he came back and won.
The Heat were getting old, Wade was past his prime, and the Cavaliers had the cap space and a budding young star in Kyrie Irving to help reel Bron back to Cleveland. This decision eventually led to a championship, but what if he just stayed with the Heat? With Pat Riley and Spoelstra, where there's culture and accountability. I imagine his career would have played out even better considering where the Heat are today.
I don't know, I agree with this, or I disagree with this take. He had to do that. Like, it was literally for the plot. Like, this is LeBron's legacy. Like, that's the plot. You know what I'm saying? He could have, but he had to go back. This one's for you, Cleveland. He had to. It's for the plot.
To back-to-back finals in 2016 and 2017, but since LeBron didn't feel they had enough to win it all, he orchestrated an entire implosion of their roster, which ended up being vastly worse, and then just left them again once things were beyond repair. Or most recently, when the Lakers won a championship in 2020, and instead of reloading with the same roster, the Lakers returned with a whole new team just 2 seasons later. These decisions do not happen without LeBron's okay. Throughout his career, he has been so quick to want more, want something better, and he can't wait around for it to happen organically.
Why? So he has that pressure on him. Everybody says that LeBron doesn't deal with that pressure. Yes, he does, bro. He has to be that guy. If he's not that guy for even a second, they eat at him.
Tries to force these things to happen, and when it doesn't work out, which it hasn't worked out a lot, the organization, the coaching staff, and even his own teammates end up taking the fall. As great as he is, LeBron has tried to play GM way too often in his career, and when he can't or he's out of options, he just moves on to the next new shiny thing. If he just stayed with the Heat, or stayed with the Cavs, or allowed rosters to build chemistry and young players to develop naturally over time, I think his career and the perception of it would probably be better right now. LeBron has willed his way to some of the greatest feats the sport has ever seen, but he has also sabotaged a lot of good things along the way. Now, here's a hot take for you, and I don't care if I'm wrong.
A little bit.
The corner 3 is not the easiest three-point shot. For years, everyone has said the corner 3.
I agree with that statement. It's actually a harder one because you got the fucking half the bucket cut off, and nigga, there's no backboard for you.
Is easier than any three-pointer, and so there's an advantage to be had there if you use them right. I wholeheartedly disagree. In the NBA, sure, the corner 3 is shorter than on the wing or at the top of the key, but if you play ball, you know this shot is as scuffed as it gets.
Literally,
when you're looking at the hoop straight on, you just have a wider margin of error. You can shoot long and bank it in. You have a better perception of depth since you're looking at the backboard. It may just be psychological, but whatever it is, you cannot convince me that this shot is easier than this shot. According to NBA.com, this season the league as a whole is shooting 39% from corner 3s, whereas above the break, teams are shooting 36.1% on average. Now, that's a substantial difference in efficiency from these 2 different shooting zones, and it would lead you to believe the corner 3 is easier. But I think shooting percentage is higher on corner 3s than 3s above the break for 2 reasons. 1, the best shooters in the league, the guys who are on NBA rosters to drill a few threes a game, usually spend the most time in the corner. And since most players who set up shop in the corner are sharpshooters, the overall efficiency from corner threes is boosted compared to on the wing or at the top of the key. And reason number 2, a lot of threes taken above the break are pulled up off of dribbles, players flying off of screens trying to square up and get a good shot off, and many times the players attempting these kinds of threes are the best player on their team, but not the best shooters. On the other hand, corner threes are almost exclusively set shots coming off of passes to a wide open man.
Bro.
The very nature of offenses in the NBA makes these corner threes easier than any other threes because plays are often drawn up to get open looks from here from the best shooters in the world, shooting set shots with no one contesting. Corner threes, especially those real deep ones where you feel like you're behind the backboard, are not easier than any other three-pointer. Now, I know I'm gonna catch some flack for this next take, and that's okay, because in a redraft of every player...
All right, you can't diss Wet Bananas here. You can say anything in a redraft to every player.
In NBA history, just after their rookie season, I would pick Victor Wembanyama first overall. You might say this is just recency bias, you may think I'm crazy, and you're probably...
And you might be real for this take. It's literally him or LeBron. Literally.
Right. But Wemby would be my first pick. His progression, his poise, his confidence, his skill set, his potential. If you lined up every great player since the inception of the NBA, and if we're just going off of what we've seen from them in the rookie season, I would pick the kid in San Antonio. Defensive player of the year, and he's a fucking scorer. My answer may be different if I were to pick anyone before they played in an NBA game. Maybe it's LeBron or Kareem. But based on what we know so far, give me the 7'4" alien.
I remember hearing this about this nigga in damn junior year of high school, bro. That's like 2 years ago now. Bro, they were talking about this dude coming up, bro, and they were talking about it's gonna be over with, bro.
Wemby can do everything on the court. He's got the offensive skills, the defensive ability, and willingness. From what has been said about him, he is like a sponge with information. He's learning exceptionally fast on the court. And I think what's just as impressive as his physical tools, the kid is not afraid of the moment. He isn't timid, he can talk trash and take it too. He's got heart, and you can tell he really loves the game. Now, I think some players who are up there with him for the first overall pick in a redraft post-rookie season might be Shaq, Kareem, MJ. Duncan was incredible as a rookie, maybe Hakeem. Overall, their numbers are about equally as impressive. But the thing that stands out about Victor is that he's doing this at 19, 20 years old on a minutes restriction. He's already an elite two-way player, possibly even the best defensive player in the entire league. And he has the advantage of playing in an era where he is allowed to develop a well-rounded offensive game from the post all the way out to the perimeter, something that Shaq, Hakeem, and Kareem never had. The improvements he's made from his first game this season to now are already so massive that his progress alone really makes him stand out even amongst the greatest rookies ever. And quite frankly, I never witnessed these other players play in their rookie seasons. I wasn't there to see it in real time. And of all the rookies I have seen over the last 15 years or so, Wembanyama is way ahead of all of them. Is this a terrible argument to make here?
No, sure. It's completely agreeable.
Does that change my pick?
It's completely agreeable.
If you can ignore what we know about these players outside of their first season in the league, and if you had to choose one of them, I think Wemby would go first overall. At least for me, he would. By the time these other players came into the league, they were already relatively polished. Jordan was still pretty raw, and LeBron was playing off of sheer athleticism. But Wemby is having one of the greatest rookie seasons ever, and just by watching him, you can tell he's still just learning how to play in the NBA.
He's still a kid,
so not only is he already incredible, he's just barely scratching the surface of his potential. Now, can this take come back to bite me in the ass?
Of course.
It sure can. But I don't care.
Right now, he's
if I could choose any player in NBA history based off of their rookie season and their potential and trajectory, I'm picking Victor Wembanyama. Now, I don't know if this last take is even a hot one anymore, but it needs to be said. The 2017 Warriors are by far the best NBA team ever. Not just the best team assembled, not the best team on paper, They are, by a pretty wide margin, the best, most cohesive team in NBA history. Over the years, people will argue that the 96 Bulls were better, or the 2000 Lakers, or if they're really out of their mind, they'll say the 86 Celtics. But no. The 2017 Warriors would dog walk any team you put in front of them. They were so good that it pissed people off. They were so good that everyone unanimously agreed that it wasn't even fair. It's been long enough now that the painful hopelessness that this team inflicted upon NBA fans around the world has subsided.
That's why
I'm sure we can also remember just how overwhelming this team was. They made really good teams look incompetent. I mean, they had everything. Arguably the greatest player in the world at the time, the greatest shooter ever at the peak of his powers, the most versatile defender in the league, arguably the second greatest shooter ever, and somehow still managed to have a very solid, well-rounded bench. And not only did they have the most talent, but all of that talent worked really well together. All of their skill sets and intentions meshed about as well as a team could. So not only were they the most loaded team in NBA history, they all bought in, and they all just wanted to win. So I not only think they're the best team ever, I don't even think it's close. Pick any other team to go against them, specifically the 2017 version of the Warriors, and the opposing team would be lucky to sneak 1, maybe 2 wins in a 7-game series. And those are 5 of my NBA hot takes. Hopefully I didn't alienate every NBA fan throughout this process.
You know what? You had some hits, you had some misses, buddy. But guess what? Like and subscribe, YouTube. If you stayed, I mean, why not? You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be uploaded. We're gonna get some different content out soon, and I'll be on, you know what I'm saying? I'll be on Kick. Wagmo, drop a follow. You know, I'll be doing a lot more on there. I just do reactions mostly on YouTube. Stay safe, YouTube.